Although Karen is actually here in spirit, you can kind of see her there if you really look, if you concentrate. Welcome to the show. Anything that I say is not meant to diagnose you or cure you or provide or replace your medical care. Check with your doctor before taking any of the recommendations that I'm about to give you. Okay, so today is Black Friday, just FYI. It's a huge special at drberg.com. If you go there sometime today, just use the key code KETO, K-E-T-O, and you'll get huge savings. All right, I have a lot of questions. Steve's going to help me in social media. I have some other interesting questions I'm going to ask you guys and see if you can get the answers correct. I want to jump right into the callers. So Rose is on the line, and she had a question from New York City. Hi, Rose.
Hi, happy Thanksgiving.
That's right. Happy Turkey Day.
Yes. Yes. Well, my question is, like, you posted a funny video a while back at a grocery store where you had to look at the nutritional labels of like certain products, and it was really funny. So my question is, piggybacking on that, because there's so many keto products out there, cereal, snacks, and all that, and they all say low carb, and it does. Some of them have, the net carbs are low, but in your, based on your opinion, like, what are there certain ingredients that we need to avoid, even though it says low carb or low net carbs?
That's a really good question. In fact, I think I need to do a video on that, but I'm going to tell you what I would recommend. So let's talk about that. Just because something says it's keto friendly does not mean it's keto friendly. You want to really focus on that carb and sugar level. A lot of times they're adding all these sugar alcohols in there, and the type of sugar alcohols do matter. If they're doing something like maltitose or what's another one? It's some of these ones that are sugar-free, but they're actually very high on the glycemic index. Now, I use xylitol in small amounts, and it does have it's on the glycemic index. It's not 0, it's like 30. So if you a small amount, it's not a big deal. The ideal situation is if you do erythritol and monk fruit, or erythritol and stevia together. Those are real good combinations, and there's a lot of things out there that include that. But really watch out for not just the sugars, but the ingredients. So read the ingredients, because you're going to find that they may have dextrose, maltodextrose, and that's what you want to avoid as well. Those are synthetic sugars and pretty nasty as far as blood sugar issues. And sometimes they'll be below 1 gram, but like a very small serving size. So if you're having any amounts, it's going to be really a major problem. The other thing is tapioca. They stick that in there too. I don't like that. That's in a lot of the, like the pizza crust type products. I think, let's see, what's some other ones that I would recommend? I would also make sure it doesn't have any vegetable oils like corn, soy, canola, cottonseed. Make sure it doesn't have that. Make sure it doesn't have soy protein isolates. That's not good. Corn solids, I don't like that either. MSG, modified food starch, is really, really bad. Textured vegetable protein is really bad. These are just several things I would look at. I would look at and then avoid. So I will do a more complete video on that, but very good question. All right, let's go right to Sultan from Saudi Arabia. Are you there?
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Sure.
I'd like to ask about how does eating foods that doesn't grow in our ecosystem or in our nature, naturally, doesn't grow naturally, like some avocados or raspberries. It doesn't grow where I live. How does that affect the body? Does it affect in any way? Is that maybe it's something new or different the body is not used to?
Yeah, that's a good question too, Sultan. I think that when you're genetic line of people have been in a certain area for a long period of time, and you'll be eating these certain foods, and then you go to another place, your body is not going to obviously do as well because your ancestry are used to certain foods. But I think that is less important than the introduction, the recent introduction in the last 40 years of all the junk foods and hidden sugars. Because 100 years ago, we didn't have these things. And so now we have this introduction of a lot of vegetable oils. We have a lot more foods that we're not used to. And that's really the culprit, the hidden sugars. Even some of the fruits that are supposedly good for you have been hybrids. Even the grains have been hybrids, and they're designed to have more carbohydrates. So you do want to go back to maybe, what the original diet was way back when they didn't have all these additives. That would be good. But I do know that when people, especially when they move to America from other countries, and even though they eat healthy, they end up getting really sick because of the foods. I mean, I remember in practice, this lady came in, and she was majorly overweight with her husband, and she was very, very sad, and she was from Russia. And I said, how can I help you? And she said, well, look at me. I said, she showed me a picture before when she moved to America, and she was just dropped down, gorgeous, perfect body, and then now she's gained all this weight. And she did not just live on Twinkies and donuts. It was just, a little bit, but it wasn't that off. So the quality of food in America is pretty low as far as compared to other countries. So even if you're eating like potatoes and things like that, in Russia, it's actually higher quality because the soils are better than America. Not that you would do that, but welcome to America. If you come here, the food is not that great. All right, so let's go right to Val, North Battleford, Canada. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, good. I called in about a month ago, and I'm the lady with an enlarged tumor.
Okay.
It grew in the space of 3 years. It doubled. So what's happening with that is a couple things. I went to a surgeon called me, and they said they want to do surgery as quickly as possible, and that they don't know if it's cancer. They'd only know if it's after they did the surgery. And I'm not interested in surgery. I've just never done those things. And anyway, so I'm kind of afraid of doing things with them, and they're sending me cancer, booklets and stuff. And to ask you what I was doing is, you told me to do fasting. So I did fast for 5 days, and it worked really well, and I didn't get hungry. I took your supplement, and then after I finished the fast, I started eating, and I got pain again, and it was all night kind of thing. So I was wondering if you had any suggestions on what I could do when I start eating, why I'm having pain, I guess, and what I could do. What would you do if, for the pain? What would you take?
Yeah, good question, Val. So you're talking about an enlarged fibroid. Many, many times those are, the great majority they're benign. They're not malignant tumors. So definitely get a second opinion. Check with another physician that maybe will have other options. But as far as the pain goes, I'm guessing you avoided all dairy for sure, because that's kind of that can stir things up. I'm also guessing that you probably took DIM, estrogen balance, with sea kelp. That would be two other things, because iodine helps to reduce the excess amount of estrogen that's behind it. There's also some, let's see, vitamin D for the pain. That would be very, very important, taking a good amount of vitamin D. I would recommend probably 30,000 IUs. These are all things that I would recommend. Also, for someone like you, it might be a good idea for me just to take a quick peek, and I don't do this very often, but if you could just send an email to drberg@drberg.com and just email us just an average of what you would eat in two different days, just so I can kind of see what you're eating, just to make sure there's nothing there that could be more anabolic, stimulating the growth of something. So that's what I would do, and we can take a look at that and see if there's something else that we can do. Yeah, okay. Thanks for your call, Val.
All right, Doc.
And
Doc,
yes.
I'll tell you what, we have got a lot of viewers, and by the way, I have to throw myself on the sword. Several of our viewers saw me trying to adjust what's called your IFB, and you were a good sport, Doc, but they saw my hand flitting around back there, so that created a little bit of a stir, which is fun. And these people that saw it are coming to us from Thailand, Canada, the UK, Kuwait, Romania, Italy, Yemen, South Africa, India, good grief, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Ireland, France, Belgium, Spain, Mexico, let me take a breath, Iceland, Oman, Turkey, Egypt, and all across these United States. So thanks again, folks, for your great patronage to the show. And let's see, Doc, maybe we should throw up one of your questions.
let's throw up the first question, the first quiz of today. What is the most powerful vitamin for your skin? And it's not vitamin C and it's not vitamin E. Okay? See if you guys can guess the most powerful, most important vitamin for skin health. Okay, this is a good one. This is an important question. Let's see if you can get it correct. One thing I just also remembered in the last call when the lady talked about a fibroid, and she was doing fasting for 5 days, which is very important. I think going back to eating after 5 days, you have to do it really, really slow. Like you might want to introduce just maybe a little bit of food, wait an hour, a little more. Okay, just because you want to if you have a whole meal after 5 days, it can really that can cause pain right there. It happened to me when coming off fasting. I wanted to experiment. I was like, oh wow, I'm eating and I'm just going to eat the regular meal, and I was like, okay, that was not good. It's just too much food too fast because your system is used to not eating. So you want to gradually kind of go into it that way. All right.
Doc, by the way, we've got a lot of social media questions if you'd like to tackle
Give me
a few.
some good questions.
All right, over to Facebook. First up is Gina, and she says she's on a Keto Stall now, and she wants your help.
Okay, Keto Stall. I've done probably 10 of these videos. If you plateau, the first thing you want to do is look to make sure that you really have a stall. Because let's say you're losing size, and you started and you're losing inches, but you're not losing weight. That could just mean that your body's developing more muscle protein, and muscle per volume weighs more than fat per volume. That's number one. Number two, how are the other factors doing other than weight? Is your cravings going away? Is your hunger gone? If so, that means it's working. Give it more time. The next thing I would do is I would start really cutting down more carbs, bring the carbs way down. There's an interesting program or a video, it's kind of a program. It's called Keto on Steroids. You can look up that video and apply that information. But then the next thing is very, very important. You need to fast longer. So if you're eating twice a day, go down to once a day. If you're eating once a day, ask yourself, am I really hungry? Do I need to eat? And then go another day. Like fast, eat every other day. That is very beneficial to those people with a slow metabolism, and also if they have had a history of dieting, or they're getting older, postmenopausal, and their metabolism is just kind of shut down. Those are things that I would recommend. And you can also improve the sleep, add exercise, and reduce stress. Steve, you have another question?
Sorry, I certainly do. Okay, this is, help me out here, Terry. Sakina? Sakina, what is the best meal replacement shakes in your opinion, or is there such a thing?
Well, I'm not biased, of course, but I'm going to recommend my own meal replacement.
Yay!
Yeah, so there's two different ones. It's Kale Shake, and then there's There's actually a keto meal replacement, which is chocolate. They're both chocolate, and the meal replacement has MCT oil in it. So it's like a healthy fat, and you can do that. It tastes good, and I wouldn't recommend living off of it, but it's a great as an extra meal if you wanted to add something, and it tastes good. I like to put it in plain cold almond milk. Tastes amazing, blends up real nice. And then you can go to drberg.com to get that, and also take advantage of the Black Friday special today that's going on today. It's Keto is the code. Steve, what do you have as the answer to the questions? What is the most powerful and most important vitamin for healthy skin?
Okay, so this is all over the place. 60% say vitamin D, 20% vitamin B in its various forms, 10% say vitamin K, and 10% lysine and biotin. So how can you sort that out?
Okay. The answer is vitamin B3 niacin, or you can take it in niacinamide. Now, let me tell you why. Because the opposite of that, when you're deficient in vitamin B3, there's a condition called pellagra that can really mess up your skin. And Steve, take a wild guess, based on the history of pellagra and bad skin problems, how was that created? What were people eating back in the early 1900s that actually triggered this serious skin problems where the skin is cracking, it's dry, it's flaking? Take a wild guess. What food created that?
Undercooked meat? Maybe I have no idea.
Yeah.
When I don't know, is that when Captain Crunch first came out, for goodness sake?
No, it's basically corn, a lot of corn, and a lot of refined flour products, as well as refined rice, white rice. So if you think about what they did at that point is they started to enrich grains with synthetic, B vitamins. But they didn't eliminate the food, unfortunately. So they eliminated pellagra. The importance of vitamin B3 for youthful skin is huge. And so it's not hard to get B3 from the diet, but it's easy to become depleted either from eating refined grains, refined, like other products, as well as too much corn or any corn at all. That's going to start to deplete you. And then also alcohol will do it as well. So these are just things that will deplete your B3, and you notice your skin is not going to be that healthy. But B3 is a cofactor for a lot of different things that happen in the body with energy and protein and fats. Vital, very important. And that's why probably they have the B3 or niacinamide in a lot of the skin creams nowadays to try to do that. But I always like to do it from the inside out, Steve.
That makes sense. Speaking of which, we got so many great quiz questions. Why don't we at least toss up the next one, then we'll move over to social media.
Okay, so here's a true or false question. Fungus in your sinuses, like when you have a fungal infection in the sinuses, that fungus can live on iron. True or false? Okay.
Interesting. Okay, so why don't we go to social media and let's see, Lola, the best advice for someone starting intermittent fasting on Facebook?
Well, the absolute first thing to do, if you want to do it gradually, is to just cut out the snacks, okay? And then do that for a couple days, and then you start to cut out the carbs. And this can happen at the same time. You start cutting out the carbs, and now the insulin becomes better, more normalized. Now it's easier to go longer. If you're doing intermittent fasting with a high carb diet, which some people do, it's going to be very difficult. Why? Because you're going to affect your blood sugars. You're going to end up with low blood sugar, and you're going to be hungry or craving. If you keep the carbs low, it's going to be a lot easier. So you keep the carbs low, and then you add more fat to the meal for the purpose of going longer. So then you skip your breakfast, and then push your breakfast, and then your first meal, which is going to be your lunch, further forward. And now we have a nice fasting of maybe 16 hours, and then go to 18 hours, and then hopefully up to 20 hours. I'm doing 20 hours. That seems to work really good for a lot of the benefits, But you know, you don't have to do 20 hours. Do 18. If you can't do 18, do 16, but don't go less than 16 hours. So that's how I would do it. Now the other way that you can do it is just jump in and just get it over with. You know, just do, I don't know, twice a day, 2 meals a day, and do 18 hours. And then what happens the first 3 days might be a little difficult, but then it's going to be easier because it takes about 3 days to adapt. So depending on what kind of person you are, some people can just dive in and do it, some people can't.
And Doc, I've got an unsolicited tip. And I mean it, Doc never tells me to pick up these things, but I gobble nutritional yeast, and it really helps me stay on par. And Dr. Berg, and I don't think he fibbed to me, said that this will not break my fast, and that I can eat as many as I can tolerate. So I do that whenever I feel like cheating, and yes, that's the word. I gobble a couple of these things. I actually crunch them up. They make me feel calm, and they get me through that little thing. And I've lost a lot of weight based on this. Again, I don't know if Dr. Berg recommends it, but it sure works for me, and it sure can't hoit.
There's not a lot of calories in there, so it's not going to break your fast. But nutritional yeast is one of the best sources of B vitamins. The only thing that I added in that product is B12, a natural B12. But a lot of other nutritional yeast products, they put synthetic B vitamins. I just don't recommend that. The only time I would recommend synthetic vitamins is when you're doing a detoxification program. Okay? All right. Steve, let me just jump right to Derek, who's been from Queens. How you doing, Derek? Derek?
Hey, Dr. Berg, how are you?
Great, thanks.
My question is in regards to high-risk HPV. I know there's over 10,000 different strains, but 14 of them are like really bad, including 16 and 18. I saw your video that you did not too far about it. My thing is, I'm involved with a female that I've basically, been involved with my entire life. And when we were kind of not speaking, she contracted high-risk HPV. I don't know what it is, 16 or 18, but it's probably 16, 18, you got 31, 33, whatever it may be. My thing is, I immediately put her on HCC. I immediately put her on your vitamin D. And I put her on beta-glucan, amongst other things like rosemary, thyme, oil of oregano, all these things. So is there anything else I can add? And can you give me some advice in regards to, as, like, can I easily contract this? I mean, I have kissed her, like deep kissing. We haven't done anything since I found out that, when she told me about it. We haven't done anything like intimately. So like, I don't know what to do here. And this is like the girl that I love, you know what I mean? She's not like all the females I've been with.
Right. Okay, so this is Derek.
So
I think the HCC is a mushroom extract, and it's really, really beneficial for greatly beefing up your lymphocytes and the killer T cells and even the antibodies, and like it strengthens your immune system to a whole new level. So that's important. You're taking the vitamin D, awesome. I would add zinc for sure. These viruses, this specific one tends to go latent. It kind of goes into remission. And so that's good. That's the good news. So a lot of times it doesn't come out and create problems. But the things that trigger it, the primary thing that triggers it is stress. So as long as you don't experience stress, I think you're going to be totally fine. I mean, you live in New York. It's probably stress-free right now, so you're good to go with there. And being very sarcastic. But the thing is that stress is a factor, and health, the overall health factor. The people that have these outbreaks where it comes out of remission and creates havoc are people, usually have other issues, other problems, poor diet, stress. So I think what you're going to have to do and your girlfriend is you're going to have to maintain a super level of health and try like heck to maintain lower stress levels to cope with that. And that's really all you can do. The viruses, I'm going to do another video on viruses coming up, and you'll learn more about that. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Derek, thanks for your call.
Okay, Doc, we've got some answers for
What
your
do we
latest
got?
quiz. All right, let me bring that up on the screen for everyone. And of course, that's true or false. Can chronic fungal sinus infections thrive on iron? And survey says 95% say true, 5% say no way. What say you, Doc?
Now, you would think that these viruses can't eat heavy metals, but they do. They do, specifically iron. They can live on iron. They've adapted to just eat iron. And that's why when your immune system is compromised, your own body tends to start taking iron and sticking it away in storage and preventing these pathogens from taking it and stealing the iron. The worst thing you could do with an infection, any type of infection, is take an iron pill. You never want to take iron. In fact, not good. So you want to actually avoid iron during an infection. The thing to know about fungal infections, especially of the sinuses, is that what weakens the immune system is sugar. So if you're having a diet on sugar, or you're have this year-round sinus problem where it's always kind of postnasal drip, and you're doing carbs, well, you're going to keep that thing alive, and you're going to keep your immune system weak, and you're going to have a hard time overcoming it. Most of the sinus infections also could be viral in nature, like a rhinovirus, in which case you need, of course, the zinc and the vitamin D, very important. But if it's an actual fungus, you want to avoid, of course, sugar, milk sugar, and iron. And you can also take 2 other minerals that will lower iron. One is calcium orotate or lactate. And that's probably why, like a lot of kids, if they have a viral thing going on and you give them calcium, if they have a fever, it tends to go away. It goes away pretty quick. So it's because it lowers this iron thing. Also, you can take zinc, which also will lower iron. So more zinc, more calcium will lower iron. Okay? And that should help the sinuses.
Okay, Doc, I think we've been ignoring YouTube a little bit, or I have. It's not your fault. And Spooky on YouTube says, what's the best approach to address acne? And I sure had that as a teen, so that's a great question. What say you, Doc?
Well, before you take a remedy, I would make sure that your diet is lower in carbs, because I'm not sure if this person is a male or female, but if they're female, then the carbs increase insulin, that can convert to androgens, and boom, you have the acne. Some other good things that can help you is iodine or sea kelp, because that will help regulate estrogen, by the way, and that can help cystic acne. But most acne can be, I wish I would have known this back when I was in high school, because I had acne really bad. So you want to just keep your carbs low. That's the most important thing. Now, fasting will really make your acne go away if you do that as well. So the frequency of eating is really bad for your skin. So you start eating 2 meals or even 1 meal a day, boy, your skin just clears right up like that. But keto, go back to the basics, Steve. It's keto.
Absolutely. And here's another odd one, I think, or that's not odd, but this is Sanda, pre-diabetic, but losing too much weight, now on keto and IF, and she's on YouTube. So that's sort of unusual to be low weight and still be pre-diabetic, or is it?
Well, the weight really has nothing to do with it. You can absolutely gain weight or lose weight on keto. I'm not on keto, but if you're diabetic. I'm guessing it's type 2 diabetes. That's what I'm guessing, but it might be type 1, I don't know, which would be a little different answer. But if you're losing too much weight, you need to do your 2 meals a day, eat more calories, more volume of fat. That's what I would do to keep your weight from going too low. That's what I have to do. And also MCT oil is a really good solution as well. Okay. All right, Steve,
Yes, sir.
We are going to go to Sharon from Pennsylvania. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Blur. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Good. I have 2 questions. I was admitted in the hospital back in August, and my blood pressure kept dropping, and right now is better than what it was before. It was dropping to 86 over 56. Right now it's at 105 over 73. It's getting better than it was before. What can I do to help it for keep it from dropping? That's one. And secondly, I'm on medication for hearing voices, and I have my diagnosis is called psychosis. The medication they had me on, they weaned me off of Zyprexa and put me onto Residone. But what the thing is, what I don't like, it constantly keep making me feel hungry, and I'm constantly gaining weight. I'm gaining weight when I'm eating. I'm gaining weight when I'm not eating. Like, what can I do to help with that?
Okay, so legally I cannot tell you not to take the medication, but what I can just give you some suggestions, some areas to research in the area of psychosis. One of the best natural things for psychosis is vitamin B1. I would also highly recommend you do keto by the book, introduce intermittent fasting, because that tends to greatly improve areas of your brain that could contribute to this problem. Okay, so that's what I want to tell you. As far as your blood pressure, you just need more sea salt to raise your blood pressure. Sea salt. So vitamin B1, start taking that, a good amount of it from nutritional yeast, and then also get on keto and intermittent fasting, and then find a doctor that is also open to natural type things. And there are doctors out there. There's a keto MD who's a psychiatrist out there that she fixes or helps people correct mental disorders through diet. Okay, and you'll find her. I don't have her information handy, but I think I would highly recommend seeking out her help. I think she can help you. I mean, the amount of problems that are improved, that are have to do with mental diagnoses are just outstanding when you actually look at the research of how keto affects your cognitive function, mood disorders, impulses, obsessive compulsive personality disorders. There's even a doctor who's doing research on this, a psychiatrist in Saudi, or one of the countries in the Middle East. I think it might be Saudi Arabia. And it's spreading. So hopefully it'll be the wave of the future.
Okay, Doc.
And that medication that you're taking does affect your blood sugars and actually contributes to more insulin resistance, and that's what you're dealing with. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that's interesting. And by the way, your sort of selfless approach to medicine is a perfect setup for the next comment, not question. In other words, you told the audience that maybe there's another source to remedy their problem, and you're humble enough to suggest that they go elsewhere sometimes to find additional information. And Lady Della, and we see a lot of this on YouTube, spoke about her breaking through a 6-month plateau, and now she's absolutely in. She loves you. You're very humble and kind, she says, and that's just indicative of what you do. It doesn't appear that you're trying to remain on a pedestal for yourself. You're trying to do it for the health of the nation and the world, and you again just demonstrated that by telling them to seek some help elsewhere with particular things. So everyone's delighted with your approach there, and as are those in the control room.
That's great. That's great. I mean, sometimes you talk to these docs who are very arrogant and very important, and so anyway, I don't like that. Hey, Steve, it's time for another question. How about that?
All right, stand by. Here we go. And the next one is?
This is a true or false question.
Okay, this is true or false, and let's bring it up. It is true or false.
Viruses
Viruses
are a normal part of healthy microbiome. All your flora, your good microbes in your gut. True or false? Are viruses part of that? Oh, you know what? True or false? I'm not asking a question. I'm just telling you, viruses are a part of your microbiome. Is that true or false? Okay. See if you could give me an answer on that. And Steve, I'm going to take a question here,
Excellent.
and then we'll go to social media. We're going to go to, I think it's Bertrand from the Netherlands. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Thank you for being in your show.
Sure.
I have two questions. I read that ketones can fuel some sort of cancers, so I'm a bit confused whether producing ketones is always a great thing. And the second question is, my girlfriend used tanning beds a lot in the past. Could inducing autophagy repair some DNA damage from UV radiation to prevent melanomas? And if not, do you have some tips? She's a little bit worried about it.
Yeah. Well, these are two very interesting questions that could go on for about an hour. As far as ketones and cancer. Okay, so in my summit last year, my talk was on this topic. And there are certain cancers that can live on ketones. So this is why you do intermittent fasting. And it's very, very important to do this. There is a protocol, if you want to watch that video, that I recommend on that topic. Unfortunately, when you get in the area of cancer, that's one area that's highly censored on social media. So I can't say too much. All I can say is that there's some real interesting research coming out on this, and there is a way to deal with this. There is a solution. The thing, though, that the benefit of ketones is it definitely prolongs things. So it's definitely, because what are you going to do? Eat high carbs? Like, that's going to speed things up in a negative way. But I think the best thing to do is to go to my site and just see if you can get this last year's summit for the complete information, which is about an hour. Now, as far as the next question about getting your body on autophagy to handle the damage from, I think you said, melanoma, which is the skin cancer. There's a couple things that I've talked about in other videos. Vitamin D is very, very protective against melanoma. So hopefully you're taking that. But as far as the damage goes, autophagy is spot on. That's what you want to do, because that's going to help your skin, fibrous tissue. Your body's going to recycle a lot of this fibrous tissue that shouldn't be there. And so that includes some of the scar tissue. The other thing you can do topically is tocotrienols, which is a type of vitamin E, as well as take it orally. That's another one to help break down some of the scar tissue. That's what I would do if I were you. But I do understand there's some conflicting information with these ketones and cancer. And I will say, I am involved in participating in some research that's being done in Europe right now on mice that deal with this one specific topic that you're talking about. And it's going to be fascinating. But I'll stay tuned. I will do a video on that. And so there's a lot of information to talk about. Okay, Steve.
Yes, sir. We've got some answers.
What do you got?
All right. Let me bring up the question for everyone. And Doc, would you repeat it again for us?
Viruses are a normal part of a healthy microbiome. True or false?
98% say true. A mere 2% say false.
Yeah. The answer is true. And I just, of course, released a video on viruses. Why we can't live without viruses, Steve. That sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Like everyone's avoiding viruses, but you would not be able to live on this planet without viruses. Maybe for a day or so.
Interesting.
Things would get really bad.
So how do they, can you give an example of one that...
So there are more viruses on this planet than there are stars in the universe, times about 1 million, 100 million actually. Don't ask me how they counted these, but there is a lot of viruses in the ocean, and what these viruses are doing is they're called phages, and they kill bacteria. They help regulate the overpopulation of bacteria and other microbes. And so if you didn't have the viruses there, you'd have this massive population of bacteria that would just go way off the deep end. And so these viruses help help microbial life being diversified. Also, it's involved in plankton, allowing plankton to generate oxygen, which generates over 50% of our oxygen on this planet. So there's a lot of benefits to having viruses. As far as the pathogenic viruses that people are freaked out about, that only categorizes about less than 0.1%. So it's a very small population of viruses. Viruses they want to live. They don't want to just kill the host off right away. But the reason why people die is because they have other factors that are weakening the immune system. But over time, viruses weakened. So in 1918, the Spanish flu, which killed 50 million people, it's called the H1N1 influenza virus type A. That virus is still around, but it's not nearly as deadly as it was back then. So over time, viruses weaken, and they want to live in our body's balance, in our body's terrain. So the thing that we need to focus on is not to try to kill off every single virus, but to keep our immune systems healthy so we can coexist and overcome this virus, because the virus also helps to strengthen your acquired immunity. So if you never had these pathogens, you'd never have a training camp to train your immune system. But again, it has to do with these other predisposing factors like insulin resistance and these other health problems that really are the problem.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, let's go to Angel from the Caribbean. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me well, Dr. Berg?
Yes, I can.
Wow, this is so amazing. Great. So I'll get right into it.
Okay.
My mom, two people this is about, my mom and myself. So I'll start with my mom. My mom just had a stroke, her second stroke, that left her where she couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was on a feeding tube. She lost her gag reflex. And now she's back on foods. So the speech therapist said to keep her on soft food. She has COPD, arthritis. Her blood pressure has been spiking. She's on medication. The only meat she's eating right now is fish. She's not on any salads. And I'm wondering what can I feed her to help to get her off these medications and healthy again?
Right. So did you say, I missed something in the very beginning, did you say she's on keto and intermittent fasting or not?
No, she's not. Although I have tried doing that with her in the past and she was open to it. So I'm just wondering, I don't know how.
It's absolutely required. It's required that she gets on keto for various reasons, simply because not being on keto, not doing intermittent fasting increases your risk, if she's doing high carb, for clots, reoccurrent clotting of the blood vessels. So absolutely, this would help her recovery too, especially the brain, because if she has some damage in the brain from hypoxia, where the stroke was and this lack of oxygen, and you have her do fasting and start feeding the brain with ketones, including MCT oil and exogenous ketones for sure, that bypasses some of that damage, and you can actually start to regenerate neurons and the damage from a stroke. So it's vital that she does that. I've had people that I know personally that had a stroke, and they got on keto and intermittent fasting, and they wish you would have done it before, and they've recovered remarkably. There's one more thing you can do, and that is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. That's another good one too.
Right.
What's that?
Sorry, she is on oxygen. She is on oxygen right now. She's getting medical oxygen.
But the hyperbaric oxygen chambers that you can go into force oxygen deep into parts of the brain and other tissues that are hypoxic. And that's been very, very therapeutic, FYI.
And so how should she do the fasting? 16-8?
To start out with, but then she needs to go to one meal a day, for sure. Absolutely. But do it on a gradual thing and really kind of have her watch the video so she understands it. But I think that's going to make her recover much better.
And so what do I feed her then if she's not on solids? What can I get her?
I hope you have my book, and I would follow the keto standardly exactly how I teach it in the book. and also in my videos. So if you go to drberg.com on the blog, I have step 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's also, if you go up to resources, there may be a download of some basic eating as well. But she needs to do healthy version of keto. And we listed all those foods. So that's what she needs to do. Because we don't want to treat this like a symptom. We want to treat it like, how can we get her healthy on the inside? And this is like really important point, Steve. If you're wasting your time if you're treating a symptom, if you have not already implemented the correct eating plan. Because chances are you're going to avoid and resolve most of your symptoms by getting your diet corrected. It comes back down to that fundamental thing, and I wish I would have known that when I started practice, but they don't teach you that. So it's expensive urine to take all these vitamins if you don't have your basic eating plan in. So if you want better results, just get healthy keto and intermittent fasting, and then watch what happens. You're going to be shocked to find out how many problems go away.
Well, here's also some important news, and that is that drberg.com/keto is up for the audience to see, and that means that we have some Black Friday sales. Is that correct?
It's Black Friday. You can go there and go to the cart and then click Keto, K-E-T-O, and we have a huge special, so you can check it out. As I just told people not to take supplements if they haven't implemented keto, and I stand by that, but you can do both at the same time. But the point is that boy, getting in the basic eating plan is so underrated and undervalued and not emphasized enough. And I think if in the medical profession, if they were to do that, boy, would they see some massive change overnight. I'm talking about for all the inflammatory conditions and many, many things. So,
Wow, Dr. Berg. Listen, we have a viewer that on Facebook that really needs some help. Jennifer has been sick for over 2 years with sweats and blisters, and she wants to know what in the world is wrong.
Sweat? She's sweating and she has blisters.
Correct.
Okay, so of course, if she was right here, I would ask her, are you doing keto and intermittent fasting? If not, she needs to jump on that immediately. But sweating is an imbalance from your autonomic nervous system if you're just sitting around. And that has to do with supporting certain parts of the nervous system with vitamin B1. Nutritional yeast would be very beneficial. Benfotiamine is another important one because it's fat soluble. And blisters, well, that tells me there's something seriously out of whack. Zinc is very, very important for ulcers or bed sores or even blisters, but it could also be vitamin B3 deficiency. A lot of skin problems occur from subclinical pellagra, which you're eating too many grains and you're depleting vitamin B3, and then you get these serious blisters on your hands, around your neck. That's a subclinical version or an actual version of pellagra, which is a B3 deficiency.
Well, we certainly wish her well. And how about another question, Doc?
Yes. All right, what is the best mineral nutrient for the sensation of a lump in your throat? What is the best nutrient to address a lump sensation in your throat? That's the next question.
Perfect.
All right. You know, apparently, Steve, there's a lot of people who have this symptom and it drives them crazy because there's no treatment. They do a scan, there's nothing in the throat, but they have this lump in the throat. So they're doing surgery on the part of the cartilage around the vocal cords, removing the cartilage, which is, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And even removing part of the thyroid. So,
what were they thinking, for goodness sakes? Well, I can't wait for the answer, and I'm sure the world can't either. I'm sure there's a lot of people gulping right now, waiting for your help.
Well, we're going to answer that in about a month now because I'm going to keep people in a mystery. I'm being very sarcastic, Steve.
Awful.
Do we have any social media questions coming in?
We certainly do. Okay, back on Facebook, Julie, is it safe to do keto if your gallbladder has been removed?
It's essential because now you're going to be having a lower amount of bile, and so you're going to have less ability to detoxify, regulate cholesterol, absorb fat-soluble nutrients, feel satisfied after you eat. So you definitely You may need some purified bile salts or a gallbladder formula after each meal, but the keto is going to reduce the stress with intermittent fasting around your liver and your gallbladder. So it's very, very important. And then you probably see what happens, what causes problems within the liver in the first place that sets you up for having the gallbladder to be removed is high carbs with high insulin. High cortisol will do it, and then high estrogen will do it as well. So if you get on keto, it's actually very beneficial for someone that has had their gallbladder removed. There's a great video, I think it might be acupressure for the gallbladder or gallbladder flush that you can do if you have any pain in that area. It's a great technique. Check it out. It's online. Okay, Steve.
Yes, sir. We've already got the answers.
Okay,
by
good.
golly. And let
Give
me
it
bring
to
up
me.
the question here. Okay, would you read it again for our audience, please?
What's the best nutrient to address a lump sensation in the throat?
All right. Well, the audience suggests that 80% of them say iodine and sea kelp, 10% say calcium, 5% say vitamin B1, and 5%, if that all adds up to 100, say apple cider vinegar.
Okay. Whoever said calcium is correct. Calcium lactate. In practice, I would use this. The version is called calcium lactate. It's from Standard Process. It's very inexpensive, great remedy. You don't have to use that one. You can also use calcium orotate. Those are two good sources. You could even probably do calcium citrate or calcium magnesium products. But here's the thing. There's something called laryngeal spasm. Spasm of your larynx. There's little muscles in there. There's little sphincters. And it tightens up a little too much because, see, this condition is aggravated by stress. So if you take some calcium, you support the autonomic nervous system, and it chills out this area of your neck, this spasm, and you'll see that sensation most of the time will go away. Calcium, if you look under hypocalcemia as a condition, that's low calcium in the blood, and you look at the side effects of that or the symptoms of that, you'll see spasm of the larynx is one of them, and tetany as well. So I stumbled at it a long time ago, and I started to give these clients calcium, and it seems to just kind of handle it like that. So it's just a symptom that you need more calcium. But you may need vitamin D. That might be behind the low calcium too. So it's not just about calcium, because vitamin D helps you absorb calcium by 20x. So if you take the calcium and it's not working, take the vitamin D. But I would take them both. I would take calcium and vitamin D. And that should help you greatly. There's other reasons why you might be deficient in calcium. It could be that you have acid reflux and that the pH of your stomach needs to be actually more acid to absorb the calcium. Another reason. Okay.
Okay, Doc, I tell you what, with our short time, why don't we go to another question and then hit the phone calls, for goodness sakes.
Go ahead. You have a question? Oh, okay.
Yeah, our next question.
All right.
Last question.
Why does sugar deplete vitamin B1? Okay? That's the question. So we're going to go to Beverly from Chicago. Are you there, Beverly?
Hi, Dr. Bird. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. My sister Vicky got me into your videos. I'm rather new, and I've been particularly interested in the apple cider vinegar, insulin resistance, and intermittent fasting videos. And you've gone over supplements during these videos, and I'm sorry if I'm lost on which one I was seeing with these supplements, but I had a total thyroidectomy. I'm 51, going into menopause, I believe, and I'm feeling like my body is preparing for that. And I had a total thyroidectomy a year and a half ago. So I'm just wondering if there's any special attention of a supplement that I need to take for not having a thyroid any longer,
or just kind of go through the supplements that you have suggested with insulin resistance, intermittent fasting, etc.?
Okay, good question. Now, you also mentioned low white blood cell count. Is that true? Oh, no, that's another question. Sorry.
No.
Never mind. Okay, good.
Okay.
So, Beverly,
Yes.
here's what I would recommend. Of course, do your normal thing that you're doing, get on healthy keto. But there is a product that, that you could find on the internet somewhere. It's from Standard Process. It's called Thyrotrophin PMG. That's a really good one. It's a glandular. It doesn't have the hormones. It actually has the glandular part that seems to, I've just used it in practice, and I've seen amazing results for people that had a thyroidectomy. The other thing that you have to be aware of is if the question is, did they also remove your parathyroid glands? Sometimes they do, sometimes they leave them. Hopefully they left them, because that can add another complicated thing. If they did take those out, you have to add something else from Standard Process called Calma Plus. Calma Plus. Okay? But those are the two things I would recommend, in addition to what you're already doing with the healthy keto and your regular supplements. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your call, Beverly.
I tell you what, you stumped them a little bit, Doc, so why don't we, wrap up with the calls, and then we'll wrap the show with the answer to the question.
Okay. You know, this is an important question, so I stick around to the end, guys. We're going to go to Scott from North Carolina. Are you there?
Yeah, Dr. Bird, how are you? Thank
Great,
you for all
thanks.
that you do, sir.
Thank you.
I wanted to have you address the situation. You recommend cruciferous vegetables, and I totally agree with you on that. But however, as you know, they contain a lot of goitrogens, and that will affect your iodine levels. And from what I've been aware of information-wise is that those cruciferous vegetables should be cooked or steamed for at least 15 minutes in order to prevent depleting iodine levels. Can you speak to that just
sure.
briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. And I'm going to hold up a book right here if you can see this. This is on cruciferous vegetables and the research on cancer prevention by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, World Health Organization. So this is massive, massive data on the benefits of cruciferous. I mean, so we have to look at the pros and cons. Yes, cruciferous vegetables, if you consume a lot of them, can tend to lower the iodine in your body, but the question is how much? It's actually a very, very small amount. It's not a lot. It's probably insignificant, especially taking the average person and watching how much they have. But if you just only did cruciferous vegetables all day long for weeks and weeks, that's going to deplete your iodine. So how do we get the benefits of cruciferous and not have the cons? Simply just take 1 C-calp a day. That's enough iodine to replace any depletion of iodine. But realize that the benefits of this are just massive, massive. On an average year, a person is exposed to about 80,000 different chemicals. Now, I think it's a lot more. I think it's hundreds of thousands, but we'll just say 80,000. You are hit from all levels of chemicals. So there are certain enzyme pathways to help detoxify you. And it just so happens that these will help induce that transformation from poisons to harmless particles through your liver and your other tissues. So we definitely want to consume cruciferous on a regular basis. But you'd have to consume a lot to deplete any iodine. So some people blow that out of proportion. You don't deplete a lot. I have done a video on it with actual references and things, but I would just take a little sea kelp and you're going to be good to go. And then also take shellfish. That has plenty of iodine as well. Thanks for your call, Scott.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so Brenda. Brenda is calling from East Texas. Hi, Brenda.
Hello, Dr. Berg. Thank you very much. I'll be brief. Time is short. Husband is a type 1 diabetic, wears an insulin pump. So we see an endocrinologist 4 times a year for blood work. Back in August, his blood work came back with a low white blood cell count. So we were referred to a hematologist. Hematologist wants to do a bone marrow biopsy and a colonoscopy, neither one of which husband can do because back in March of 2020, he had a stent put in, and he's on blood thinners, so they won't let him do the test. So we're hoping to get them done before the end of the year if we push it. But in the meantime, are there supplements that can help?
There's three very important supplements to increase his white blood cell count. And if possible, I would highly recommend doing my immune course. Stay tuned for more information on that because I teach people what to do for the immune system. But he needs zinc desperately. Zinc, vitamin C, but not just the synthetic version. He needs a food-based vitamin C. And he also needs vitamin D. Zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D, that is what he needs right now. The other thing you want to do is he wants to get on keto and intermittent fasting, but not your regular version because he can't do a lot of the green vegetables that have all the vitamin K1. So if you look on my video under, I think keto, if you're on keto with let's see, was it Coumadin or something? It could be, I can't remember the exact name of the video, but if you're on a blood thinner, I actually give people a list of vegetables that are low vitamin K vegetables and doing keto at the same time. I would highly recommend that. Very, very important. All right, Steve.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Here's the answer.
Okay, read the question for us.
Why does sugar deplete B1?
Okay.
Because what happens is that refined sugars doesn't have any B1. In order to metabolize that sugar, that glucose, through the little energy factories called the mitochondria, it takes B1 as like a spark plug type thing. So you have oxygen, spark plug, and you burn the fuel to the carburetor, right? So if you're running all this fuel without B1, straight jet fuel without B1, your body's going to have to pull from its reserve this B1 to be able to metabolize that glucose, that sugar. And if it can't do that, you're going to get really, really, really tired because your metabolism is not going to be low, and this is why people get tired after a lot of sugar as well. So it requires B1 to metabolize sugar, therefore pulling from your reserves. That's why it depletes it. So the solution, Steve, is to avoid sugar. For those of you that want to know about, if you're just tuning in, we have a Black Friday special today. Go to my site, drberg.com, type in keto for some really cool savings. And Steve, I just want to tell everyone thank you so much for your wonderful comments and your questions. Stay tuned for some really interesting videos coming up tomorrow and the next day. And we will see you, or I will see you, next Friday.